My brothers and I, we spent so many hours playing this game. Tomb Raider, directed by Simon West, released in June of 2001 with a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. Starring Angelina Jolie, Daniel Craig, Jon Voight, Chris Barry, Noah Taylor, Ian Glenn, and Julian Ryan Tutt. This movie had a budget of $115 million, had a domestic take of $131 million, a foreign take of $143 million, for a worldwide total of $274 million, and a profit of $159 million. $159 million. Sounds weird if I don't say that at the end. Despite how much the critics gave this a hard time and people generally derided, it's one of the few computer game movies to actually turn a decent profit. Like it or not, this movie doubled its money. Starting with characters, and of course we'll begin with Lady Lara Croft. Jolie brought her considerable presence, her physique, her attitude, and it pays off. Lara Croft is truly and very well represented, pretty much straight from the computer game. Here she is. And she runs around and does all the things with all the adventure and the stuff. Unfortunately, she has about as much range of personality as the computer game, sadly. Very cool, very calm, very tough girl sort of thing. Never really ruffled, never really any great range of emotion until it comes to her father, played by Jon Voight. Lord Richard Croft. He is not in it very much at all other than standing and talking. Yeah, that's about it. He stands in a tent and gives dialogue. And I think they have a very close approximation of him, gets shot in the head and fall down in a flashback sequence. Then we have Alex West. Kind of a friend, kind of an enemy, a frenemy, if you will, running around as the other Tomb Raider, her opposite number. Definitely the male version of Lara Croft. Just as cool and calm, just as lacking any sort of depth of emotion. But, you know, some fairly good banter, some carry-on. Daniel Craig carries himself very well. And he is there for the girls, much as Angelina Jolie is there for the guys. They each get a shower scene, so yay equality. Then you've got Noah Taylor as Bryce and Chris Barry as Hillary. They're Croft's butler and tech wizard, respectively. Well played, entertaining, their chatter and banter and carry on, very good. They are your solid support actors, and they fulfilled their role admirably. I remember when I watched this at the movies, and this was the very first time I'd seen Chris Barry outside of Red Dwarf. I'd always only ever seen him as Rimmer. So that was a shock. I was very excited. Distracted me for most of the movie, actually. Then you have Manfred Powell, the main villain, and his assistant, Mr. Pims. These guys are good. They're good fun. Powell is a very over-the-top, super dramatic villain of the piece, and he really is quite sinister and smarmy and oily, and just, you don't like him, and you're not meant to like him. He's all very, yes, I'm a lawyer, yes, oh, I'm in charge, yes, I'm a member of the Illuminati, ah. Yeah, he's all like that in front of others. What's really funny, though, is whenever it's just him and Pims, he kind of drops that facade, and they'll just chatter about the fact that they've got no idea what they're doing, everything's doomed, and they really should just worry about something else. So as for the characters, they were mostly good. Not all of them are standout, not all of them are incredible, but none of them really detracted from the movie. You didn't have anyone you're like, oh, please get off the screen. There were no negative players, so to speak. No one brought the team down. So without any real surprise, characters get a 3. This is a computer game story. This is a computer game plot. And it translates fairly well to screen. Every now and then you're kind of like, yeah, right, this literally is the next stage in the level. But you know what? It works well enough. It's a magical, mystical MacGuffin hunt. You got the Illuminati chasing this mystical triangle with the two parts combined can form a time bubble or allows them to control time. That final detail mechanics never really explained, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, triangle can control time. Apparently unlimited access, unlimited depth of travel and time and manipulation. So the Illuminati want it, and they're trying to hunt down the final pieces of it. Lara Croft has a mystical dream in which her father explains the rules of the game, explains the main plot, that she has to find it, that sort of thing, and a clock mysteriously starts ticking in a hidden secret compartment. She goes hunting, she finds the clock, takes the clock, gets it examined by an expert who betrays her to the Illuminati. The Illuminati are chasing Lara. Lara's chasing them. Everyone wants the same thing. They want the triangle. Why do they want the triangle? Well, the Illuminati want to control the world. And Lara just wants to stop them, but then she also wants to go and get time with her father back. She wants to use the triangle to bring her dad back, which I liked, actually, that aspect, because it wasn't just the selfless for the good of the world sort of routine. She actually had her own motive. And you don't see that a lot these days. Really, that's about it. The rest of the movie is location, location, location. The chase, the hunt, the fights, the exploration, the adventure side of it all. It is a very linear get the thing, do the thing, chase the thing, fix the thing, save the day, yay. Again, it's a computer game plot. The movie does move along at the speed of exposition with some incredibly well-timed coincidences and, mysterious letters from the past and so-and-so knows such and such and hey, I just happen to know exactly how to get here or this just happens to fall into place. It is very clunk, 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 ta-da. But, like I said, it works for what it is. You're still having fun. It's kind of predictable. Spend most of the time in either England, Cambodia, or Siberia, I think it is. It looks very Siberia or very Alaska or somewhere very frozen with native tribes and their dog sleds and all that sort of stuff. But it felt a little bit more Northern Europe than it did anywhere else. They lean into the mystical side of things a lot more than I was expecting. I remember being surprised about that. And they also dropped the Illuminati in pretty hard. They ain't subtle on this one. There's no guesswork. They are most definitely the Illuminati, as they say out loud in the movie a few times. The Illuminati are naturally based in Venice. I wonder why Venice? Why is it always in Venice or somewhere like Venice? It's funny to have the Illuminati based in Darwin. Or a whole movie revolve around the southern Florida branch of the Illuminati, just sweltering and wishing they were somewhere else. Much like Darwin, really. Overall, the story moved along pretty well. It really didn't bog itself down. Even when it got very deep in exposition and some over-the-top sequences, it didn't slow itself down, didn't break anything. And when it did feel like it was slowing down, they jumped in with a bit of mysticism anyway. So that just kept you on your toes. On the whole, I'm going to go and give story a 3. It could have been a 2.75. It really wasn't that much to it. But the way it kept moving along, it kept you engaged, and it ran across the top of the things that are a bit shaky, it earned itself a 3. Look and feel. Now, this is a mixed bag. On the one hand, the good hand, you've got some very nice sets and locations. Some of these locations, particularly up in the frozen north, really nice, really looked good. Cambodia was alright, I suppose. I mean, it's a jungle. Jungle could have been anywhere at all. That jungle could have been filmed down in, Florida. It could have been in Australia. It could have been pretty much anywhere. That is a jungle with enough sets and prop pieces to make it look like it's Cambodia. If it was filmed in Cambodia, well, good on them. The tech and all the tactical gear and the weapons, that was cool. That looked very appropriate. People in there, all their combat fatigues, all the different gadgets and goodies that Lara's running around with. That was nifty. Croft Manor looked nice. That whole environment there felt real, looked real. It was an entertaining place for action set pieces and a little bit of downtime. The occasional shots of the solar system all lining up slowly. That was very cool. That was nice. And they had that deep ambient rumble background noise whenever they did that. So that kind of felt like, space. That was nifty. That didn't throw you out. They used that at appropriate and good times. Lastly, the costumes. Everyone looked the way you'd expect them to look. That was all very appropriate. Nothing was terribly a surprise. On the other hand, the CGI work is quite weak. In some shots, really weak, like really bad stuff. Some very, very obvious spec effects and green screen work. You could just forgive it as a side effect of the time, like when it was filmed and the technology at the time, but it really, really does stand out. Sometimes it's smack bang center, and it's meant to be this focus of attention. Doesn't fit in the scene. Some of the stunts and the fighting, good, but then every now and then you'll have a few too many flips in the air, and gravity doesn't seem to affect people properly, and secondary motion and after effects of actions don't follow through as they would. So you can tell that they're on wires, or it's a cross-cut effect, or it's like 4 different camera angles to make one action look good. That sort of thing. That stands out and jumps out of you every now and then. The music's okay, generally. Yeah, nothing really that bad, but every now and then some of the transitions between one sound to the next sound, or music turning into background, or ambient music flooding in, every now and then it's a little jarring. It kind of hits you a little hard. Lastly, a lot of the mystical stuff was quite good. It just flowed nicely, but other times it jumped out of you. Just as odd. Not bad, not terrible, not distracting, just weird. I mean, I suppose the argument could be made that mystical stuff's meant to be weird. But this wasn't weird as in, whoa, that's weird and spooky. This was more weird as in, that's a weird choice. That's a weird time to have that happen. It's just jangly. The whole movie rattles a bit. My wife did say that in the defense of this movie, it does look and feel like a computer game, to the point where you just let a lot of things go, because artistically and physically and just the total presentation is a computer game level. So look and feel on this one, we'll be getting a 2.75. Look, it would have been a 3. It sounded like it was going to be a 3, but the stuff that really stands out manages to pull you out. Just some of the special effects and the way they're placed and the way they're lit, and just so much focus on them. It feels like a nitpicking, but it really is like a hard bump when you're watching it. So I'm afraid, yeah, 2.75. Script and dialogue, another mixed bag. This is another situation where the bits that work well work really well, and the bits that don't, a bit of a grind, bit dull. Thankfully, nothing's terrible. For example, all the Illuminati exposition scenes are heavy, very heavy-handed, very blatant, very lay it all out. Where you got the high honcho of the Illuminati sitting in his big chair and giving this grand speech to Powell, who knows all this. And the look on his face is almost as if to say, I know, I was there for this. Why are you telling me it all again? It just felt really labored at times. And then at the same time, the back and forth between Powell and Pims was some of the best little dialogue and witticism in the whole movie. The villain and his sidekick got some beautifully dry moments together. And that was solid. That was really enjoyable. Actually, the villain side of things delivered the worst and the best parts of this movie. They also hit you pretty hard with the mythology stick. They get stuck in you on that one as well. You get a lot of that, actually, more than you'd expect in a movie called Tomb Raider. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, they just really covered a lot of ground with that. You've got the mystical butterflies that Lara follows through Cambodia, and then this creepy little ghost child that keeps popping up, giving her hints and running around giggling. And very clearly, if she's run away over there, she shouldn't be appearing over here. No, it's not actually possible to go from where she was to where she is. I suppose that in itself isn't really a problem, but when they lead her to fall in a literal plot hole, there is a hole that opens up for the purpose of plot that takes her right to where she needs to be, having been led there by mystical butterflies and a ghost child. And the brief sequence where she falls down the tunnel full of roots, it looked very, very fake. Super fake. I did say to my wife that if this ghost child kept appearing in front of me like that, and I had guns, I'd be putting shots into that pretty regularly. On the other hand, my wife said, oh no, that's just a representation of a childhood coming back to lead her down the path. She went so much deeper on that than I was going. That was an epiphany. All right. The bungee rope ballet sequence where Lara's at night, she's in a dressing gown or her nightie or whatever she's in, and she's on this bungee rope bouncing up and down in the middle of Wayne Manor? Bouncing up and down in the middle of Croft Manor, and that's when the bad guys turn up and they do an assault on the house. So you end up with this whole incredible sequence where she's running around the room, up and down the walls, bouncing off stuff while she's on a bungee rope, punching guys in the face, cutting their lines as they rappel through the ceiling, fighting people in the garage, fighting people in the hallways. You get to see Hillary very properly put on his slippers, his dressing gown, his bulletproof vest, and get a shotgun. That was clever, it was funny, it got a laugh at the cinemas, and it gets a laugh every time. The whole sequence was fun, but the whole sequence was also very, very silly. Entertaining silly, fun silly, but it did stand out a little bit as quite silly. See, I don't know why that stands out when dumber things are done in other movies and that seems okay. But for whatever reason, it just stood out as a bit over the top. But then again, without that over-the-top sequence and a couple of others, the movie wouldn't be the same. Wouldn't be anywhere near as much fun. The Cambodian temple fight's pretty good. It's very heavy on the CGI. The not so great CGI. It's alright for what it is. It explains a lot more about the story, and it progresses it in a slightly different path. There's a swap over, so to speak. She gets a thing he wanted. He's ended up with things she had. I think my favorite computer game moment is where she's sitting in the Buddhist temple and she drinks the special tea and her wound is healed. Like, much like in the computer games, grab the health potion, chug, all those bullet wounds, we're good, let's go. You know, that sort of thing. That was kind of cool. I didn't mind that. The sudden and predictable betrayal at the end was both sudden and predictable. The ham and cheese conversation with the dad in the tent after Lara's grabbed the triangle and gone back in time and tries to convince her to let her bring her dad back. Her convincing him to let her bring him back. Yeah. Honestly, my final opinion on the script and dialogue is all over the place. As you can tell, because I'm loving one thing and then I'm not liking another thing, and both are equally as dumb as each other, and so it's just very hard to get a lockdown on. I'm going to be going ahead though and giving this a 2.75. Again, could have been a 3, but it pulls itself down. But at the same time, it could have been a 2.5, but then it pulls itself back up. So yeah, I feel comfortable giving this a 2.75. Fun factor. Well, I can tell you up front that this one is a 3. I had fun. I had a generally good time with this movie. It could have been a really good time, but except some of the things dragged it down, and it could have been much, much worse, but all the good things propped itself back up again. So yeah, it evens out at a 3. Any plot holes in the movie? And there were some fairly serious ones. Well, they all got filled in by the mystical mumbo-jumbo mythology angle. So really, it was self-correcting in that respect. Whilst it was a little bit over the top at times, you could write it off as, well, magic, or mysticism in this case. Quite simply, a wizard did it. So, add them all up, and we get a 14.5. Not too bad for what it is, when it was made, and how goofy it gets. So yeah, I'd recommend it. It's a simple afternoon movie. Either background noise, or if you just feel like a little bit of nostalgia. So there you go. That's my review of Tomb Raider. What did you think? Did you enjoy this movie? Have you seen it? Did you think it stayed true to the computer game? Or do you reckon it wandered off and did its own thing? Where would you rate this as far as computer game movies go? Me personally, up there at the top. I mean, not the best movie in the world, but there's been some trash. As usual, comment, like, and subscribe. Share my review around, and I hope that you're having a great week and that you find some time to go watch a movie.